In 1878, the United States signed a treaty for the establishment of a naval station in Pago Pago Harbor. An 1899 agreement between colonial powers divided Samoa into spheres of influence. Germany gained control of the Western Islands, and the United States took the Eastern Islands.
By 1904, the Eastern Islands had all been seceded to the United States, although the U.S. Congress did not formally accept the deeds of secession until February 20, 1929. The Samoans agitated for control of their country's affairs, and in 1977, Peter Coleman, a Samoan, became the territory's first elected governor.
Samoa gained in strategic importance for the U.S. Navy and prime spot for naval base. Its position between Hawaii and Australia is perfect for strategic strategy. Its potential as a coaling station for the expanding steamship fleet.
So suitable in case of operations in that quarter that political possession of the whole island in which the port is, or at least of ground sufficient for fortification, is desirable. Quoted by Alfred Tyermahan, Naval War Officer. The U.S. saw the conflict over Samoa as an example of increasing German aggressiveness in the Pacific. This is important because it's just a decade before World War I. Some of the positive short-term impacts are that Samoa gained in strategic importance for the U.S. Navy because of its privileged position between Hawaii and Australia. The harbor of Pago Pago and Tutila, as well as a group of small islands to the east, came under the rule and protection of the U.S. Navy. Trivial, apparently, was nevertheless eminently suggestive of European ambitions. America then roused from sleep as to interest closely concerning her future. Alfred Tyermahan. This basically means that Europeans showed great interest in the Samoas very early on, but then Americans noticed how interested the Europeans were and started to show great interest in their future.
The negative short-term impacts is from 1900 to 1951, under the control of the U.S. Navy, the Navy had turned the American Samoa into a strategic naval base. But the Samoan leaders didn't have much control over this because they had little power.
Some of the positive long-term impacts are that in 1977, Peter Coleman, a Samoan, became the territory's first elected government. Bartlett Tripp, the U.S. member of Samoan Commission sent to the island to investigate the recent conflict and suggest plans for the future, urged to keep Pago Pago as the Gibraltar of the Pacific, meaning that it was first sought out by the Europeans, which brought the U.S. to be concerned with its future.
The negative long-term impacts. Previously, the American Samoa was under the authority of the U.S. Navy, but has been under the power of the Interior Department since 1951. The Interior Department is responsible for managing and conserving of natural resources in most federal lands.
As Obama announced in his address to the Australian Parliament, the United States is a Pacific nation and would be here to stay. The United States currently operates 300 bases in 7 sovereign states and as many U.S.-controlled territories in and around the Pacific, with over 330,000 military personnel and 190 ships.
Even though America imperialized Samoa and they have freedom, there are still some things that they don't get to do, such as apply for U.S. citizenship, vote for U.S. president, and vote for legislation.
Over the years, the United States and Samoa have enjoyed a close friendship based on trust and mutual interest, strengthened by people-to-people ties between the two countries, particularly among Americans of Samoan descent.
The of our imperialism is that they ended up with freedom, such as religion and speech. Unfortunately, even though we imperialized them, they weren't technically U.S. citizens. They couldn't become U.S. citizens, they couldn't vote for U.S. president, and they couldn't vote for legislation. They didn't really have a say at all when it came to U.S. decisions to the American Samoa.
There was a group called the Mau, and its followers questioned the colonial rule of differences between the American Samoas and people of the U.S. Navy. And they thought that they were only there to protect them, but the American Samoas and a group thought they were going to shut down the naval government, which depended on the taxes drawn from the sale.
As you can see in the first cartoon, Uncle Sam, a man with a gun, and a preacher are kind of forcing native Samoan into civilization and Christianity. And as you can see in the second cartoon, it's a woman dressed in kind of like American type clothing, and she has naval ships on her head, and she's just kind of trying them on. So this really shows that the U.S. was just kind of like showing the world its naval power at the time.